Today we're going to do a practice session. I want you to get your saxophone out and get ready to practice along with me. And the plan is to just go through, like, I'm going to practice, but I'm going to do like a play-by-play commentary and just tell you what I'm thinking and what I want to accomplish, what I want to do. All right. Yeah, and there's Black Friday sales going on. So I put if you go to that link in the chat or just go to bettersax.com, we've got this, everything is on sale. You guys could join the studio at a big discount, $199 for the whole year. Works out to $17 a month. The studio, that's where I give you new lessons and stuff to work on every month, videos and PDFs and downloads and stuff. And then you've got like this bundle of 8 of my courses for $299, or you could just get individual courses at 40% off if you use this code BF24 when you check out. All right, let's jump into it. So I got this. I just kind of jotted down some notes for you. Now, sometimes I warm up if time allows. Like if I have enough time, I'll do like a whole proper warm-up, which might include long tones. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with my long tone routine. You don't have, if you have the time to do long tones, do them. Do 5 minutes of them if you want, but you don't have to. You don't have to do it. You could work on tone while you practice the other things. In fact, while you practice everything else, you want to be thinking about tone. So if you're doing scales or patterns or practicing songs or even your music for band, you should always be thinking about your sound and trying to play with your best sound. So we'll kind of skip over the long tones thing for now, but it is something I really recommend you do if you have trouble with intonation, or if you're in the stages of you wanting to develop strength here, embouchure strength, and a beautiful tone. And the way I do them is I will start on middle C, and I'll just play a note. And I'll have my tuner open, and my tuner is going to be playing a drone into my, of that note. Like that tuner I use, it'll play the drone of the note I'm playing, and I'll just match the pitch. So I'm getting used to matching the pitch. So that I highly recommend. I made videos about that that you could check out. Now, oh yeah, and I see a lot of people are talking about the classic tenor. That is on sale. I forgot to mention that earlier. The classic tenor just went on sale yesterday, and I didn't even know this was going to happen, really. But it just went on sale at Sweetwater and Amazon, $200 off. So it's a crazy good deal. It's this one right behind me, which is awesome. And I'd play that today, but I'm sitting, and it's just easier to play alto. So I'll usually, these days, I'll often just jump right into some sort of technique practice and kind of be thinking of my sound at the same time. And it'll be different. It'll be something different pretty much. I try to make it something different every day, or, a new idea comes to me, like, all right, let me practice that. Let me take it through all 12 keys. So the other day I was transcribing this Dexter Gordon solo on the Christmas song. And in that solo, he plays this like once or twice. You might have seen the short video I made the other day where I kind of put that up there. So, now that's something I've heard a million times before, but, for the sake of, for you guys, if you hear something like that, if you hear somebody play in a solo like the same thing twice, like that's a lick that you could try to take. Oh, I triggered this thing to start following me, and now it's going to follow me, and I don't want it to do that because then you won't be able to see my fingers. Okay. So if I were going to take that through all 12 keys, I'd just start somewhere comfortable, like where I wrote it out. And first, whenever you're going to play anything, just make sure you got all the notes. You don't want to be practicing with wrong notes. So I'm going to play it real slow, whatever I'm starting to practice. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm keeping my fingers on the keys. Because if we don't do that, when we're practicing, forget about it. When we're performing, our fingers are going to be flying everywhere. And I might play something like that and just leave out the articulation entirely because we don't really need it right now. And then I'm going to start taking that idea through the keys. And I might go down. For some reason, I feel like going down half a step with this one. And I'll do that. And I'll make sure I get each key nice and solid, and then I might try to play it fast through all the keys kind of quickly. And so, and this whole process might take me a long time. And if you're new to playing things in all the keys, it's definitely going to take you a while. The first time you do it, and the second time you do it, it will take a little less time, and the third time it'll take a little less time, and so on. This is something you get a lot better at with practice. So I would say taking things through all 12 keys has been tremendously helpful to me in getting better at playing saxophone, certainly improvising. So take things, you start with one line, and you work on it, and you get it, and then you add another one, and then you add another one. So, and you could do it, we could do it going up in half steps. We could do it around the cycle of fourths. You could do it all those different ways. But I wouldn't say like go make sure you can play every line up chromatically, down chromatically, around the fourths, around the fifths, before you move on to something else. Move on to something else long before you have that perfect, because you're going to get a lot more benefit from practicing different things than getting one thing perfect and then moving on to the next thing, because we never get anything perfect. You can always play it faster. You can always play it cleaner. So make sure you're constantly putting new stuff into your practice routines. And there's so many great resources, whether they come from books or whether they come from like courses and PDFs that you buy online. There's just so many good things, or just a YouTube video where you find something. Just endless resources to give you ideas. And what I like to do, once you've kind of gone through a lot of resources that you found other places, it's really good to start trying to make up your own exercises. Yeah, study the books, learn that stuff, but you want to get to the point where you could just make your own exercise up. Anytime, like I said, I'm listening to Dexter Gordon, transcribing a solo, and I find something he played twice, so I say, okay, that's an exercise. I'm just going to turn that into an exercise. It happens to be a lick, and then I might want to think, oh, how can I use it? And in this case, I have it written out there. I'm thinking of it as working over a G7 chord. But I could also have that work over, a D minor 7 chord. It would work really nicely over that. Uh, okay. So now, and then I'm just sitting here and I'm like, oh, what else? Let me come up with another one. And I came up with it like a real basic 2-5-1. This next thing here, the A minor to D7 thing. I just wrote it out. I just thought, oh, let me just write something. It's super basic because we're just going up the A minor scale, that Dorian scale. And then we skip up to the 7th. And on the D7 chord, we land on the root. That's the night. Instead of playing chromatically down, like the bebop scale on the D7 chord, you can do that sort of enclosure of the 7th. That's something great to practice. Why? So I said, like, when I'm doing technique, I'm practicing patterns and not necessarily scales. You got to learn your scales first. Like, learn all your scales. And the only scales you really need to learn is your major scale, starting on all notes. So basically, it's your major scale, but you're getting all the modes of the major scale. Then you want to learn your harmonic minor scale, and you want to learn your melodic minor scale. And I always try to practice all scales starting on every note. And then you want to learn diminished and whole tone and stuff. But just with those, major, harmonic minor, and melodic minor scale, like, you can play anything. So once you learn those, then I don't really practice the scales up and down anymore because we never play that. Like in music, you never have a passage that's like, it's just, we don't play the whole scale up and down. We play snippets of scales and we play melodic ideas that have little bits of scales in them. So here, so I'll take something like that maybe, and then I'll say, okay, can I play that in all the keys? Okay, I had to think about it. I just went up a half step, so now my first note is B flat. So I'll practice that, and I'll take that one through all 12 keys. Let me do another one, another half step up. Okay, so you see, it might take a while in the beginning. Now, notice I'm doing it all in my head. I'm just transposing it in my head. I'm not reading it off the page. Now, if I read it off the page, I'd probably get it right the first time. But I'd be relying on that sheet music in order to have that line. So I don't want to rely on sheet music. If I want to use this stuff to improvise, I can't be really relying on sheet music. This is something I tell everybody is, learn something, learn the first one off the sheet music if you need to. Best is to learn it by ear off the recording or something. But learn the first one off the sheet music so you have like a reference point, and then do the rest just transposing in your head. Okay, and also you'll notice right now I'm not practicing with the metronome. Okay, when I'm learning a line at first, you don't need the metronome. Just get it accurate, get the notes accurate, and then after, it's good to practice with the metronome. Uh, but you don't always have to. Once you have like a good time feel, you can practice without the metronome, because again, the metronome can end up being almost like a crutch, like the sheet music, where you feel like you're only playing in time if the metronome is on. You know, when you're playing with in live situations, just no metronome, right? So you have to have that kind of that metronome on in your body and in your head. So you need to practice without it too. It's good to get in the habit of practicing without the metronome. Yeah. So I might say, so those are two great ideas. Those are two just ideas off the top of my head that you could practice, take through all the keys. Now sometimes, that stuff I would use, maybe, licks like that, lines like that. I might use that. It might actually come out note for note, more or less, in a solo, because it's language and it just sounds like bebop. It just sounds good, right? And when you want to like just communicate and have lines flowing through the chords, it's good to have a bunch of language at your fingertips that you could, kind of just drop in there. But sometimes you just want to practice technique, and it'll be just things that are hard to do on a saxophone. And these things might be stuff that you would end up playing, but it also might be stuff that you never play, that might never really come out, but you're just practicing it to improve your technique and your ability to do anything. It's like yesterday I was messing around with the chromatic scale, right? Everyone knows chromatic scale is all your notes. All your notes. So I was saying, what if I play chromatic scale and just do patterns on that? So like four notes down. So I started practicing that, and you can go in both directions. Now I would practice that not because one day I want to start playing that thing that kind of sounds, there's nothing wrong with it, I guess, if you like that. But for me, it's kind of like a thing that I probably wouldn't play too much. But practicing it, I know because it's hard to do, practicing is going to just help me have a better command of my instrument and kind of be able to play whatever I want that much easier. So it's good to mix your technique practice with stuff you're going to use, like language, but also just stuff that's hard to do on a saxophone. So it just makes everything else easier. And you want to change things up all the time. Like if you're always practicing things that are scale-based, you want to make sure you practice stuff that is arpeggio-based, or or has more leaps in it, because you don't want to be somebody who's really good at playing stepwise motion things, but when it comes to doing leaps, you can't do it, okay? And you don't want to, if you always practice things in intervals of thirds, well, maybe you should try practicing things in fourths and other intervals. And, the more challenging you can make this stuff, the more you're going to improve, even though it'll feel awkward at first. It's really important that we don't practice stuff we already know how to play. Like if you're just practicing stuff you already know how to play, you're just playing. And that's nothing wrong with that, but you're not going to get better just doing, like if you are trying to get better at cooking, would you make the same recipe over and over and over again? Or would you try all different recipes and like every day make different recipes and use different ingredients and different methods of, right? You have to mix things up to get more skills. So same with music. If you're like, every day I'm going to practice my scales and then I'm going to practice this piece of music that I play, if it's the same thing all the time, you're kind of wasting your practice time, and you're not being terribly efficient with it. So this next thing I have is tritone pairs. So it's like, I like to sometimes, tritones are really they're really helpful, really useful. It's a really useful pairing, especially in jazz. So take any sort of melodic idea and transpose it a tritone. So here I just take the 1, 2, 3, 5, and then again up a tritone. Okay, so that's an idea. So, and then like, okay, I want to go down. Well, to go down, what did I do? I have it going in, just arpeggiating the chord now. So. So that's another idea. Now I might not play that exact thing in a solo, but by practicing that, it's just improving my technique so that I'll be able to have more tools at the ready, and just be able to execute ideas that come to me that much easier. Now that's just something that I made up based on common melodic styles, let's say. And you can, if you just start making stuff like that up, you could say, oh, how can I change this? I mean, you could say, okay, so I just changed the second one. And every day you could do that and say, oh, let me change one variable in that, so it's a little bit different every day, for example. And there's really endless things you could do, but this is just an example of something I might practice while I'm trying to come up with new things to do. And we always want to do new stuff. And then really important, and you can spend a lot of time doing this stuff, because this is it's just endless variables and endless ways you can do it. And that's fine. Don't feel like this pressure, like, oh, I have to learn, I have this list of 10 million things I have to learn, and I have to learn them all before I can play jazz or before I can be good. I don't want you guys to think of it that way, because that just puts this like impossible pressure and task on you. Instead, you want to think, I just want to take a little bite out of the big cookie that is learning music every day. Just take a little bite. That's all you can do. And you can never eat the whole thing. You can never get it all. So just every day you just show up and do a little work. That's it. That's all you can do. Don't be like, oh, I did this for a long time. It was a huge mistake. I was like, oh, I should be better than I am. Oh, I better get in the shed and I better practice really hard so I can catch up to where I think I'm supposed to be. It's just a ridiculous concept. You are where you are today. That's it. It's nothing. You're where you are today, and that's exactly where you should be based on the amount of work you put in. And all you can do is show up and take little bites or put little more drops in your bucket of knowledge of things. You can't, it's a complete waste of time to get down on yourself and say, oh, I should be better than I am. You can't change the past. You can't change the amount of practice you put in before. So it's foolish. Just worry about today, and then tomorrow, worry about tomorrow, and go at it in that way. So the other thing that's really important to practice pretty much daily is songs. And this is, if you're playing jazz or pop music or classical music, whatever it is that you are, whatever kind of music you play, you need to practice songs. So for this, for the purposes of this, let's say we wanted to take a song, and I'm going to choose Fly Me to the Moon. And if you want to learn Fly Me to the Moon, you got to start with the melody, right? Any tune, I want you to start with the melody. Now, I already know the melody in my head, but you want to learn the melody and memorize it. But let's say you've already done that part. Like, you know the notes, you know the rhythms, you've listened to recordings of it, and you kind of know that melody. So. Okay. So you know the melody, and you could just play through the melody from the beginning to the end and do that a few times. But that's not going to really help you get better at playing the melody. So what can be really helpful and fun and practice is to just take little phrase by phrase, go through the melody. So that first phrase, and I want to develop like a personal way of playing the melody myself. Like, this is how I play the melody. So I'll take that phrase, like, how can I embellish it? Okay, I just put a turn on the first note. Okay, and then I just like dropped in a little lower neighbor note. And I might just try to come up with a few different ideas how I could play that melody and make it mine. Okay, that's good. I don't want to maybe change that first bit of the melody too much, so I like that. So let's go on. Notice also, by the way, that Fly Me to the Moon, the melody to this song, is just going up and down scales, really. Okay, there's a lot of scale work in there. So how can I make that second part interesting? I did, instead of just playing down a scale, I did like scale in thirds. Oh, that last one I kind of changed the rhythm up. You might have to play each little idea you get a few times and work it out and find something you like. You might play things you don't like, and they're like, okay, I'm not going to play that one again. And try some things until you find something that you like. You might stick with this one phrase for 10 minutes before you find something that you really like. Okay, so what do we have so far? So I'm like, okay, I like that. Let's say I decide that I like that. I'll practice just that way of playing the melody until, like, okay, I can execute that with confidence. And I'll go through the whole melody like that. And then sometimes you might want to, when we get to like the end of a phrase like that, there's a little break there. Now we might want to fill. We want to fill that space up. Or not. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to put anything there. But there, a little further on, like, okay, I want to put something there. So. So that came into my mind, and I'm like, okay, I like that. But maybe I want to change it up. Maybe I want to make it more interesting. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, instead of like, I have those two options there. I think the first one was better. So that practice right there. And so not only am I thinking about how I can embellish the melody, but I have to figure out how I can embellish that melody and stay true to the chords. I got to be inside the chords, right? Otherwise, I'm just playing random notes. So another really important step whenever you're learning a tune is to learn all the chords. And everyone, if you're a saxophone player and you're going to improvise over a song, whether it's a jazz standard like Fly Me to the Moon or a pop tune, it doesn't matter. You need to know all the chords. Everyone in the band should know all the chords except the drummer, right? The drummer doesn't need to know the chords. But everybody else needs to know the chords. Imagine playing in a band in the tune and like the piano player or the guitar player didn't know the chords. It would just sound horrible. What if the bass player didn't know the chords? Why is it that the saxophone player doesn't have to know the chords just as much as the piano player or the guitar player? We do. We have to know the chords just as well as they do. That's our job. And if you don't know the chords, it's fine. Just go learn them. Okay? And it's really not that hard. The reason that saxophone players feel like it's so much harder to learn chords is because we're just playing one note at a time all the time, right? And we're not playing the chords. So if you have a piano, or if you have access to a piano, I really suggest you learn how to play some basic chords. And any tune you're going to work on, you just learn how to play those chords as like one step. But you can also, and you should also, play the chords just on the saxophone, transposed. So now we're in the key of concert C. Fly Me to the Moon starts on the 6th chord. So first step, you need to be able to play all the roots, like the bass player. Like you need to be able to play all the roots, and you should be able to memorize that relatively quickly. If when you look at a chord chart like that, it just looks like tons of just random stuff on a page and you don't understand it, then you got to learn some harmony. It's not super complicated. We do this, we work on this a lot in the Better Sax studio. Like every month we do new lessons, and we take a new tune and we do like a harmonic analysis, and I explain, I'll take you through a tune like this, and like, okay, so we start on the 6th chord, then it goes 2, then 5, then 1, 1, now we're on that, on the screen it says A major 7, that's concert C, that's the 1 chord, okay, and then we go to the 4 chord, and then we do this minor 2-5 back to the 6, And then that 6 becomes dominant 7 because it's leading back to the 2 of the, the tonic, 2, 5, 1. So by going through, we go a lot slower than that, but by going through these and analyzing the chord progressions and understanding that all of these songs in all different styles are just following patterns. There's harmonic patterns that get repeated over and over and over and over and over again. So the more of these tunes you learn, the more you start recognizing these patterns, and then it does get quite easy after a while. Quite easy. I mean, it's always challenging, but it doesn't get too difficult. So you got to know the chords. So once you can play your roots, then you should be arpeggiating. You need to be able to know all your chord tones for every chord. So there I'm just arpeggiating, going up the root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th of every chord. You got to be able to do that on every song. Like that's the equivalent for us, like of the piano player just playing the chords, and whole notes. We need to be able to do that before we can start improvising over anything. So, like, ask yourself, am I able to play the roots of this song I want to improvise over? If the answer is no, go do that, okay? That's a great tone exercise, by the way. Right? If you don't want to do long tones, practice roots on a tune you're learning. Okay, you're going to get the same effect as long tones, and you're going to be learning the root movement of the tune. And then next question, can I arpeggiate all of these chords in this tune? And if the answer is no, go and do it. And just start. You don't have to get crazy complicated. Just start just do triads first. 1, 3, 5. Then you could add the 7th in there. And then you could start changing that around. You could start saying, I want to go backwards from the 7 down. You want to be able to do all that stuff. And like what we were talking about earlier with the technical exercises, this can go on forever. But that's the sort of stuff you want to do. And then when you know all that harmony and those chord tones and the scales that would go over there, then when you're playing your melody, you can then make your fills and make your embellishments and your own version of the melody, but that's inside the harmony, right? So we can't just embellish stuff without knowing the harmony. And then the last thing on my list here, if we go back to this list, I'm talking about improvising with restrictions. So I would take no backing track. Okay, also notice when we're doing the melody, I'm not playing the melody with any accompaniment. I don't want to put that backing track on yet, because if I do, what happens? You just play with the backing track and you mess up, like, oh, I messed up that spot. Well, I'll get it next time. And the next time comes around and the same spot you mess up over and over. Stop practicing with backing tracks that way. If you don't know the chords, you're not ready to play it with the backing track. If you don't know the melody, you're not ready to practice it with the backing track. If you kind of haven't worked out all these things, like the backing track is your reward for once you've learned the tune and now you want to practice performing it. But we don't want to use the backing track to learn how to learn the tune, because it's just going to take so much longer that way. And we're going to learn it with mistakes, very likely, which is never a good thing. So the last thing I would do is I would practice improvising but with restrictions. And again, you don't have to use the backing track here, and it's kind of better at the beginning if you don't. So let's say I just want to improvise, and I might just say, oh, let me just play these first 4 bars. And what is my restriction? Okay, my restriction is I can only play chord tones. That's a good one, you know. Okay, so playing super simple. You don't have to, like, another mistake I hear people make all the time. They feel like they have to play a million notes, even though they're not ready to do that. Because for some reason, I guess we get used to hearing great jazz musicians and they're always playing lots of notes. Well, that's because they did all this work to be able to do that. If you haven't put in all the work yet, you should be able to play lots of notes really fast. And you know, you don't have to do that. Play fewer notes, many fewer notes, and just make them sound, you know, get them inside the chords and with good rhythm. That's so much easier to do. So, so one restriction, we could go through the whole thing and play just chord tones. And I might say another restriction. I might say, okay, I'm going to use the same rhythm over every measure. So let's do real simple rhythm. See, I messed up there. And if I had the backing track on, I would just have to like wait till next time. But now I don't have the backing track, so I can just go back and fix that one spot that I messed up. Yeah. I messed up again. Yeah. And if I find a spot where I'm messing up, I just want to stop and just practice that spot, those 2 bars, or those 4 bars, or that 1 bar, whatever it is, and just practice that, because we're always going to be making the mistakes in the same spots over and over again. That's just how it works. Okay. All right. So that's a lot of information. I hope that was helpful. Now, I haven't looked at the chat, because if I look at the chat at all while I'm doing these things, I just get distracted, and then the live stream doesn't go very well. So now I'm going to look at the chat. There's a lot of people saying hello. So hello, everybody. Bonjour. Somebody is saying bonjour from France here, I'm assuming. No, I'm not. That's not the Yanagisawa. This is the better sax. Look, this is the better sax tradition. This is the saxophone that is a for rent only instrument. This is my main alto right now. While I'm waiting for something even better that's coming very soon. I love this alto. I mean, I'll play that. I would happily play that for the rest of my life. That's a great saxophone. Should I buy the Emio now or wait for 2.0? Yeah, it's like it's always that question. Should I buy my new MacBook now or wait for the next one? Who knows when the 2.0 will come out, so the email is great. Okay. Many thanks for encouraging me to learn playing saxophone. It's got a Yamaha Alto 280. Doctor told me it's the best lung exercise for my lungs with my alto. Okay, you're welcome. Okay. Oh, Chris. Hey, Chris. How's it going? Chris edits a lot of our videos, working on tritone pairs today. Okay. Question. Where can we find the backing track and transcript of the Christmas tune you played in the Banner Sax tenor short? The backing track, okay, good question. So we have backing tracks at bettertracks.com. And if you use the coupon code BF24, you get 20% off backing tracks. So yeah, that, and there's a Christmas volume with like 5 different Christmas tunes in it. Oh, and Rendell gave us $2. Thanks, Rendell. I've been a big fan for many years. I just wanted to let you know you've been a great help. I love watching all your videos, and I hope you keep doing what you're doing. Well, I will keep doing what I'm doing because it's fun and I like it. Thank you very much. Glad it's been helpful. Question about the soprano saxophone mouthpiece. Soprano saxophone mouthpiece is coming next week. Like, you're going to be able to buy it in a week. So, and a whole video about it coming very soon. Yes. Okay. So good question. Will there be an intermediate tenor in production? Yes, we're working on it. So we have this. This is like our intermediate alto. It's killer. It's really like a professional instrument. Like, there's no, like, this is in terms of quality of sound, how it feels when you play it, the quality of the construction, everything. It's on par with any sort of entry-level professional saxophone. And we are working on a tenor version of this. You know, it takes a while to really dial these things in and get it the way we want it. So maybe next year, but these things always take a lot longer than I think they will. Oh, somebody has a better sax alto. Great. Okay. Nick has the better sax tenor, is very satisfied with it. Yeah, it's a great saxophone. Okay. Okay, someone says, do you think I can develop my ears? I think I have potential, but as of now, I sometimes can't identify. Yeah, it's fine if you can't identify notes and play by ear. It's because you haven't done it enough. Everyone can get better at this. Now, of course, some people are born with like this skill at, hearing things, but most people aren't. Most people just develop it naturally, and it's develop it through work, through putting the work in, through practice. So yeah, do that. Your ears will get better. You just got to practice it. Takes time. Be patient. I used to love practicing in the early years, but now I dread it and it's holding back. Yeah. You got to practicing. Why is it that practicing makes us dread the thing? I think it's all in our heads because it should be fun. Usually once you pick up the instrument and you start playing, it's fun. If you change your kind of thought process and you try new things all the time, but don't try things that are too difficult. You want them to be a little bit difficult so that it's a challenge and you're always doing new stuff. But if it's too difficult, you get frustrated and you'll give up. It's like the perfect video game, right? Like the perfect video game, if it's too easy, nobody wants to play it. If it's too hard, nobody wants to play it. It has to be this right, just the Goldilocks zone of, oh, that's challenging, but after 3 or 4 tries, I can beat that stage or I can get to the next level, which keeps me wanting to play. So you can design your own level of difficulty with your saxophone practice. You want to keep it just challenging enough so that it's interesting. You feel good at the end of your practice session because you made some progress and you'll want to do it again the next day. I'm having a saxophone and the sound is not as nice as I bought it. Can you fix it for me? Well, most of sound issues just come from, putting a lot of time in on the horn. The Barry sax is going to be coming in 2025. That is definite. It's already like in production. So that's coming in months. It's a matter of months. Oh, thank you. There's a lot of videos of me playing if you go to the Better Tracks YouTube channel. Better Tracks. Oops. YouTube. You get lots of videos of me playing if you like that sort of thing. How often do you gig? Well, I used to gig a lot more. And then recently I don't do so much, but like sometimes I do like one a week or, you know, a couple a month, which is the right amount. So I'm always getting out there and playing, but not so much that, you know, it takes up too much of my time. Okay, your wife wants you to get a Nakai 5000 for Christmas. Wants to get me. I mean, it's okay. Did you see? I just put a video out on these things, and there's a bunch on sale now. The Roland is on sale. Well, the Roland, I would recommend really the Roland or the travel sax. The Roland AE 10 or 20 for most people, or the travel sax, and those are on sale. So check out that video. The Akai Iwi is really it's its own thing. It's a good instrument, but it's not like a saxophone in a lot of ways. Yes, well, worldwide. If you live in the EU or the United States or in the UK, it's easy to get all of our stuff. But if you live outside of those places, your best bet is to check Thomann or sax.co.uk. They have our stuff too, and we'll ship worldwide. And sax.co.uk. That's where you can get stuff worldwide. The courses you can buy anywhere. Like you could be anywhere and you can get our courses. Fixing the tuning. Well, your saxophone is tuned when they made it at the factory. So you just, that's the thing you want to practice your long tones with the tuner and match. But, you know, that takes time. In the beginning, you know, just get your intonation a little bit better every day. You need to be practicing intonation with a reference point. Well, the intermediate tenor is going to be probably a long way off, you know, at least a year, I would say. And the classic tenor is so good. Honestly, it's just so good for the price, and it just went on sale. It's now, the classic tenors are now $12.99 at Sweetwater. So, and that is going to be a very temporary thing. So I would really say to anyone who wants a tenor, get the classic tenor now at $12.99. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for showing up and hanging out and all the great questions. Have a great day, and, you know, let me know if we should do another one of these sometime soon.